Hey everybody, Chris the old ass retro gamer here. Welcome to another one of my video game collection live streams. Let me know if the volume is okay. I was messing around with my microphone and I don't know if it's loud enough. I hope it is. Let me know, like I said, in the chat. So today I'm going to be talking about my Game Boy Advance and Sony Psp collection. So I talk about this in every single one of these live streams that I do. Why am I doing this? It is not to show off. It is not to brag. It is to have a visual record of everything I have in my collection just in case something happens. Like, you get robbed, there's a fire, something like that. I can say this is everything I have in my collection as of right now. I'm holding it in my hand. It's real. There you go. Proof. And also because it's extra content for the channel and it's fun to do. I have a lot of fun doing these live streams, so why stop? Hey, welcome, Top Spot. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. So, this video is going to be kind of long, so I'm warning you. We're going to, there's a lot of ground to cover. I did not realize that when you combine my Game Boy Advance and PSP collection together, you have a lot of games. So, go get some popcorn, go get a drink, go get a blanket, a pillow, I don't care. What, just, it's gonna take a while. Vectrex? Oh yeah, it's always been here. At least for the last 2 years. Talked about the Vectrex in one of the earlier streams. Last year, probably in October or September, something like that. But anyway, let's get into it because, like I said, there's a lot of ground to cover. So we're going to start off with the Game Boy Advance, one of my favorite handheld consoles. And starting off with the first game, and that is 007, Everything or Nothing. Everything or Nothing is one of my favorite console Bond games. I absolutely love it. And I was always curious what the Game Boy Advance version would be like, because the version that's available for the Xbox, the PS2, and the GameCube is a third-person action game that is like playing an interactive James Bond movie. How would that translate to basically a handheld Super Nintendo? And it turns out, I'm actually going to do a video about this in the future, about this type of conversion. Whenever there's a game for a home console that is like a 3D third-person game, let's say, when it comes to the Game Boy Advance, it always gets turned into a isometric action game, which is pretty cool. I like them a lot, and that's exactly what happened here. It is a like three-quarter view action game, kind of like a Legend of Zelda game, but from more of an angle. And there's also car racing and whatnot. And all of the action scenes that are in the console version are present in here just from a different point of view. And it's a lot of fun. I really, really like this one. And you're going to see a lot of this type of game in this video. So I highly recommend that one. Next up, we have one from Treasure, one of my favorite developers. It's the sequel to Guardian Heroes, which is a very expensive Saturn game. This is Advanced Guardian Heroes. It's a 3D beat-em-up. In the Saturn version, your characters had like 3 levels where they could fight. So, like 3 background levels, I guess you could say. So there's like a mid-ground, a further in the background, and then they closer to the camera ground. And, instead of just moving back and forth like you would in a Streets of Rage game, you had to hop back and forth between the 3 distances, and it's fun. And here it's more of a, that was the Saturn one. This one is more of a, you can move wherever. That was the mechanic for the Saturn game, but this one is just nonstop craziness, and it's actually so crazy that the game can't seem to keep up a lot of times. There is a lot of slowdown in here. It's not to the point where it's hard to play. It's just a little frustrating when like you're in the middle of like a combo or something like that, and all of a sudden the game starts to slow down and it throws your rhythm off. And outside of that, it's a fantastic game that is really crazy, and like I said, they fit a lot of stuff on one cartridge. What's happening, Captain Algebra? Remember Kenna suckers? Kenna forever in our hearts. What is up, Jason? How's it going? Get them games, man. This one is awesome. Astro Boy, Omega Factor. This is developed by Treasure as well. Did not realize it when I bought it back in the day. I bought it because it got great reviews in a couple of magazines I was reading. So I picked it up way back when. Loved it, but eventually ended up having to sell everything. And when I got back into collecting, I wanted to get this game back, and it had shot up in price. Don't ask me why. Astro Boy, of all things, an anime character that America doesn't give three shits about. But the game became super popular and sought after. Don't ask me why. I found this at a half-price books, the one by my work. I found this for $50. Normally this goes for double that. And I had a bunch of stuff I was trading in. There was like a bunch of DVDs, movies, a bunch of games I didn't want anymore, like mostly for the Wii. And I ended up trading it in to get this, and I was not sad about it. And it's basically a 3D action platformer, kind of like Contra, but there's also horizontally scrolling flying levels. It's really, really fun. And the music is catchy. The graphics are absolutely fantastic for a Game Boy Advance game. I highly recommend picking this one up if you can. I told you you'd like Donut County, dude. Donut County is so much fun. Like, I just could not believe that, like, I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did. But like I said, I played it in one sitting on one stream, and like people that were watching me play it were like, I got to buy this. And then like in later streams, they came back. Oh, I picked up that Donut County game. It's fantastic. And it's really, really fun. I love the storyline in it too. But anyway, Game Boy Advance. Picked this one off of Amazon for a whopping $3, and it was still sealed because I bought this from the company that released it. It's called Backtrack. I got this from Telegames. They have their own store on Amazon, and it looked like they were like clearancing out all of their like back stock, all the stuff that they just had laying around. And like I said, it is still sealed. I have not played it yet. But it's a first-person shooter on the Game Boy Advance. And a first-person shooter on the Game Boy Advance is a sketchy prospect. Sometimes it's really good, like a couple of the games I'm going to talk about here. Sometimes it's really, really bad, like that Medal of Honor Underground that I watched Stop Skeletons from Fighting whine about for an entire video. But this looked pretty cool. I watched some video on it on YouTube before I picked it up, and it looked neat. I just have not gotten around to playing it yet. But there's that. Pick it up, Top Spot. Pick it up. It's awesome. Here's a unique one. I'm doing a video about this and its its predecessor also. So, the probably worst reviewed movie on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think also IMDb, is Ballistic X vs. Sever. This was an action movie that came out in the early 2000s, I think maybe 2002, that had Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu in it, where they were like competing. Like, well, he was like a Fed, and she's an assassin, and they were like always after each other. Like, she was always trying to kill him, and he was always trying to catch her. And in the end, they have to like team up together to take out like a common foe type. I saw it in the theater opening night. It was absolute garbage, and it deserves all of the hate it gets. But when it came to the video game versions, it's kind of a weird story. So, yes, this is the video game based on Ballistic X vs. Sever, but this is actually the second game made based off of it. I'll get to the other one later. So this one is, it's a first-person shooter also, and it's actually really, really good. I mean, let's forget about the movie. When it comes to the game itself, it's one of the best first-person shooters on the Game Boy Advance. It is fantastic. Lots of different environments, lots of weapons. Yeah, you end up fighting the same bad guy most of the time, but like the levels are designed so well, who cares? Besides, you're playing on a Game Boy Advance. It's not going to be like what you would get on a console at that point in time. But it's a great game, and we'll talk about the other one when I get there. There's another licensed game, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Wrath of the Darkhoul King. One of my goals, or a mini collection goal, was to get all of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer games that are available for any game console, both portable and home. Because I love the show. I think it's fantastic. I still watch it to this day. Actually, I prefer Angel, but Buffy's a close second. And this one is a side-scrolling beat-em-up / platformer. And when it comes to these games, this one's probably the better one, because I also have one for the Game Boy Color. I showed that off in that live stream. And I also have one that was not available in the US, only came out overseas, and it's for the DS. And that one's okay. That one's more like playing a Resident Evil game, but this one's not too bad. I mean, it tries to make you think you're playing a lost episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but when it comes to like the gameplay, it's not the best. But another one that is really expensive for no reason at all. Here's an awesome one. Probably, I think the first video game I bought for my Game Boy Advance. That's Castlevania Circle of the Moon. I remember when I did my pickup video where I talked about this, I called it Shadow of the Moon. Or no, what was it? Symphony of the Moon. Yeah, whatever. Castlevania, or Metroidvania to the core. Absolutely love it. Love the music. Love the gameplay. Love everything about it. You played one of these, you pretty much played them all, but it's awesome. I need to get the other 2 games in the series, but not only are they pricey, it's really easy to get a reproduction without realizing it. There's like copies out there that are not legit all over the place. So the only reason I bought these was because I think it was right before the Midwest Gaming Classic 2 years ago. Radical Reggie sent me this text message saying, you need to get these games because I'm going to talk about them with Metal Jesus in a video. And I looked them up, and the covers are terrible. The covers are like Photoshop nightmares. It looks cheap. It looks like a budget game. But then I watched some video about it on YouTube, and they are like playing Metal Slug, and they are fantastic. The only problem is I have not cracked them open to play them yet. But I know what I'm getting into. So it's called CT Special Forces and CT Special Forces Back in the Trenches. And each of these is like a knockoff of Metal Slug. Let's see if we can check that out. And they're fantastic. I mean, I was watching them on YouTube, and I was just having fun watching the gameplay on YouTube. It's a shame that I haven't cracked these open yet. They're still sealed. Maybe I'll have to fix that tonight. Should I do an unboxing right now? Awesome first-person shooter, Dark Arena. I bought this one back in the day as well. If you watched my Retro Freak review when I was talking about the Game Boy Advance capability of the console, this is the game I was playing. And it's a really fantastic first-person shooter. Reminds me a lot of Zero Tolerance on the Sega Genesis. But it's great. I've been trying to get this game forever. I found a deal on YouTube, or not YouTube, on eBay for it. And I found out why I got a deal on it. Well, the game is Drill Dozer. And the thing about this one is it was released by Nintendo, but I think it was developed by Hudson, maybe? I think. No, Game Freak, the people that made the Pokemon games. And the thing is, the game itself is a little bit larger than your standard Game Boy Advance cartridge because I think this is the rumble feature built into it. And you play as this like young girl who's like in this drill car or whatever, and you use it to attack and make combos and stuff. It's really, really fun. When I finally played it, I understood why it was so sought after. I guess there wasn't a lot of copies made. I can't be sure. But I played it for a good long while when it showed up, and I absolutely loved it. But the reason I got it so cheap was when it showed up, yes, it's complete in the box with the manual, and even has the little baggie that the cartridge comes in. It was cheap because it looked like somebody tried to keep the box closed with packing tape. I don't know if you can really see it, but there's like packing tape like wrapping this thing. And I had to cut through it to get into the box when it showed up. So there's that, but I don't care. It's in the box. It's got the manual. The game works. I'm good. And I got it for a decent price. Yeah, I was kind of disappointed too. Here's a funny one. I really didn't want to buy this game, but license whore, and because it comes with something kind of funny. And I still haven't opened this one either, but it's probably because I'm not going to play the game anytime soon. Excuse me. It's called Driven. What Drives You? Based on the Sylvester Stallone piece of crap movie that came out like in the early 2000s. I saw that opening night as well. That was garbage. But it comes with a toy car because it's all about racing. And when I saw that, I was looking up the GameCube game because I just gotten the GameCube version of this, and I found it at a half-price books. And I remember reading somewhere else that there was another game based on the movie for another console. I just couldn't remember what it was. I'm like, was it the PS2? Was it the Xbox? No, it was the Game Boy Advance. And I found it on Amazon, and then I saw that it came with a car, a little toy car, and I was like, okay. But the game itself is like playing RC Pro-Am. It's just a isometric racing game. But still haven't opened it. It's still sealed also. Probably won't. Dynasty Warriors Advance. Got this at the Midwest Gaming Classic, I think the first year that I went. And this is also what you do. What do you do when you have a third-person 3D action game for a home console? You turn it into an isometric beat 'em up. It's not too bad. Here's the other game that I was talking about when I was talking about Ballistic X versus Sever. So here's just X versus Sever. So what happened was, there was a script for the movie. It got sent out to video game companies to make an adaptation. BAM was the one that bought the rights to it. They made the game based on what was in the original screenplay, and then the movie just never got made. So this game came out in 2001, and Ballistic X vs. Ever, I think, was 2003. So this game is based on a version of the screenplay that was not used for the movie when it actually got made. So what they did was they made this into a first-person shooter as well, and it is great, a lot of fun, way better than the movie will be. And then when the screenplay got finalized and the movie went into production, they decided to make another game based on what ended up becoming the movie. And both games are way better than the film ever. Yeah, they're both first-person shooters, and they're great. So it's a weird story, but whatever. Here's a spoiler for my monthly pickup video. I just got this one a couple weeks ago at Video Games Then and Now. I actually had a little bit of money to spend, so I was like, let's go and buy some games, shall we? And I picked up Final Fight 1. I've been wanting to get this in my collection again for the longest time, but it was really, really pricey. I had this back in the day, and aside from, forking up, having to sell a kidney to get the Sega CD version where you're able to play as Guy in Final Fight, this is the only other way you can play as Hagar, Cody, and Guy in the same game. But side-scrolling beat 'em up, if you've played the Super Nintendo version, you've played it. But this time you're able to use Guy as well, and that's why I wanted it again. The complete version. Fire Pro Wrestling, one of the other original games I had for my Game Boy Advance when I first got it, and I think this was the first Fire Pro Wrestling game released in the US. This was a Japanese franchise that I think started on the Famicom, and it's a tactical wrestling game. It's all about timing. It's not about button mashing and shit like that. This was just all about timing your button presses to get the moves. Big, huge character creation system. It's fantastic. There's a second one also, which I recently just found out about, and I need to look for that one as well. Fortress, I had this one back in the day also, and I got rid of it a week after I bought it because I didn't get it, and it's a tower defense game. Build an endless array of fortresses, and you can compete to destroy each other's. And I just didn't get it, and I didn't think it was great. And the weird thing was, I sold this on eBay, and it turns out the guy who bought it lived nearby and actually wanted to meet up to exchange the money for the game. And I was stupid, and I accepted that. And we met in the parking lot of a Panera Bread, and I told him what my car looked like, and I guess he was just waiting, so I pulled my car up into a parking spot. Next thing you know, there's a guy tapping on my window going got money, I got your money, I got your money. And then I just opened my window, handed him the game, he handed me the money, and I drove away, and I was like, that was the most awkward, uncomfortable thing I've ever done in my life. F-Zero GP Legend. Just like playing an F-Zero game. This one I think is based off of a cartoon or something. And not really a sequel to the game. This one is the adaptation of the F-Zero cartoon that was on for a season or something like that. It's okay. There's another F-Zero game that is a genuine sequel to F-Zero. So I got here Golden Sun and the sequel Golden Sun The Lost Age. I've been trying to get these games for the longest time in my collection, and they are really expensive. And then half-price books, one that's pretty far away from me. It's a good 40-minute drive from where I live. I had gotten these coupons, and it was, if you come on Friday, your highest price item is 30% off. If you come on Saturday, your highest priced item is 40% off. If you come on Sunday, when basically they know that everything's already going to be gone, your highest price item is 50% off. So I went there on Saturday going I better get here. I'm not going to go on Sunday. Everything's going to be gone. Everything worthwhile will be gone. I'm going to go there on Saturday, see what they have, and see what happens. And they had both of these in their expensive games case, and each one was $50. So I was like, shit, well, I can get one. So I picked this one up. And I say to the guy at the register while I'm being rung up, so I got this for 40% off, $50. I say to the guy at the register, I was like, you got the second game in that cabinet back there as well. Would it be possible for you to hold this for me until tomorrow? And the guy said, yeah, sure, no problem. And I was like, great. So I went back there the next day and got this for 50% off. So I got this for $25 and I got this for, I think, 28. So awesome RPGs. I should probably stream these at some time because they're great. Highly recommended. This one took some doing to complete. Gradius Galaxies. This has how many games in it? 8 all-new action-packed... Oh, this is its own game. I thought this was a compilation. So, people play games. That retro game store I used to go to, they reopened. They had closed down, and then like a year later, they opened back up for like one day to clear out all the remaining stock that they had. And they always had a section that was like empty boxes, loan manuals, stuff like that. Just like if you want to complete something, here's where you can get stuff. So when I was going there all the time, they always had a box for Contra 3: The Alien Wars for the Game Boy Advance, and they always had Gradius Galaxies boxes there. And I was like, oh shit, when I go for this one-day opening thing, I should go and get one of those boxes from Contra 3 and one of the boxes for Gradius Galaxies while I'm there, if they're still there. The Contra 3s were gone. They still had the Gradius Galaxies. I picked this up, and then I ended up getting the manual and the cartridge on their own. So, but it is just another Gradius game. Nothing to write home about. It's pretty cool. I like it. But the ones that came out for the PlayStation 2 are way better. But, it's Gradius. You've played that. You've played them all. Gremlins, Stripe versus Gizmo. Also picked this up when I went to that, when they had that sale where it was like 30% on Friday, 40% off on Saturday, and 50% off on Sunday. This is when I went on Friday, and I got this. And it's a side-scrolling platformer, and it looks kind of cheap from the outside, but it's actually a pretty decent platformer. It's pretty fun. It's like playing the Game Boy game a little bit, but just a little more advanced. Because it's on the Game Boy Advance! Oh! I'm not funny! Guilty Gear X Advance Edition, one-on-one fighting game. Not that many of these available on the Game Boy Advance, sadly. I should probably look for a few. I think there's one that has like a Street Fighter compilation or something. But I did a pickup video with Radical Reggie, a live pickup video over Skype. It wasn't live for you guys. It was live for me and him. Like we were Skyping together. And when I showed that this was one of the games I had picked up, he like flipped out. And it was still sealed. I got a sealed copy of this on eBay. Excuse me. These sparkling waters giving me the gases. Anyway, he forced me to do like an unboxing for this because he's like, you need to play this, so you need to crack it open. So I did over Skype, and it's fun, and it's a great fighting game. It's not as good as like the home console versions, but for something on the Game Boy Advance, it's very playable. I like it a lot. This one I bought because of Metal Jesus, and I found this at a half-price books like a week after. He talked about like I think it was a Game Boy Advance Hidden Gems video. And they talked about, him and Reggie, they both talked about Gumby versus the Astrobots. And I used to watch Gumby when I was a kid. Nowadays, I'm like, oh, God, why? But turns out this is like playing Metroid as Gumby. You even roll up into a ball like Samus does in Metroid. And it's actually pretty fun. It's not what you think a Gumby game would be like. It's pretty cool. And it's very colorful and fun, and the music's actually pretty catchy, and I like it a lot. Surprised the hell out of me. Like, I just happened to run across it at a half-price books. Actually, it's shut down now. Gunstar Superheroes, another game by Treasure, sequel to the Sega Genesis game, which I absolutely love. And this one is more of what you loved in the Genesis one. It is absolute craziness, and another time when Treasure is just really ambitious, and they cram so much stuff in their games for the Game Boy Advance. I don't know how they do it. I really don't, but they did, and it's awesome. Okay, here we got Iridian 3D and its sequel, Iridian 2. Iridian 3D is like playing Galaxy Force or Thunderblade, I want to say. Kind of like Star Fox. It's an into-the-screen shmup. And it's kind of hard to control. Not hard to control. It's hard to gauge where you're shooting because you're flying into the screen. The enemies are coming towards you, and you need to shoot them before they get to you to shoot at you. And yeah, like sometimes it's just really, really hard to gauge what you're going to hit and where you need to be in order to hit that bad guy. It's not a bad game, it's just a little frustrating. But they fixed that with Part 2. Part 2 is just a standard vertically scrolling shmup, and it is fantastic. I forgot to mention that both of these games were developed by one of my favorite developers. It's called Shinen. They did... oh, God, what was it called? I was on my best games of 2015 list, I think. Not Nanostray. Nanostray? Well, they did the Nanostray games for the DS, but I can't remember. It's for the 3DS. Whatever. It's a fantastic shmup. You need to have it in your life. Oh, Iridian 2? So we have Jurassic Park 3, The DNA Factor, and Jurassic Park 3, Island Attack. There's also a third Jurassic Park 3 game for the Game Boy Advance that I need to pick up. So, the DNA Factor is kind of like playing the Genesis game a little bit. It's a side-scrolling platformer, and there's also some puzzle-solving stuff. Like, you have to, like, mix DNA and stuff. You can see it on the back here. It's not bad. It's not too bad. For a licensed game, it's pretty cool. And they're made by Konami. You know, they can't be all bad. And then, like I say, what do you do when you have something that is normally would be on a home console as a third-person action game? You turn it into an isometric action game for the Game Boy. And this one is pretty awesome as well. I like them both, which is why I want to get that third game in the series. I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called, but I really want to get it because they were like, they're 2 for 3 as far as I'm concerned. Justice League and Justice for All. This is a side-scrolling beat-em-up and a little bit of shmup action too, where you get to play as Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Martian Manhunter. Fantastic. The game is a little short and graphics aren't the best, but it's a fun little diverting game. I can't complain. This one's developed by Way Forward, probably one of my all-time favorite developers ever. And that's Justice League Heroes The Flash. There's the Justice League Heroes game that came out for, I think it's just the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox. I don't think it came out for the GameCube. But this is like a little spin-off from that, and this one just focuses on the Flash, and it's really fun. The Flash is kind of tiny on the screen, though, but you have all these really cool abilities, like zipping around and punching things real fast and causes more damage. It's pretty rad. I like this one a lot. Still haven't opened... Well, no, this one is opened. It's just flipped over. I was going to say, I know I've played this. Klonoa, Empire of Dreams. Got this off of some dude on Facebook who was, like, just getting rid of all of his Game Boy Advance games. So, like, he took a picture of, like, a box, and he had all of his in-box Game Boy Advance games in it, and he was like, anybody want any of these? Contact me, and I'll let you know how much it was. And he only wanted, I think, $30 for this. And I was like, God damn, Klonoa games are usually pretty expensive. I'll take that one. So, yeah, and it's actually pretty fun. It's a side-scrolling action game platformer, and there's, like, a bouncing mechanic where you pick up something, and you can throw it down, it'll launch you up in the air. Really, really fun. I like it a lot. Konami Collector Series Arcade Advance. This is like a compilation of old Konami arcade games. You got Frogger, Yi Are Kung Fu. That game is still super hard. I remember it being hard in the arcade. It's not easy on here either. Gyrus, Scramble, Russian Attack, Yes Please, and Time Pilot. Can't go wrong. They're pretty good adaptations of, or ports of the arcade games. Iridian 2. Oh, yeah, you did pick it up when we were out together. I forgot about that. Lady Sia picked this up because of Radical Reggie. He talked about this in, I think, 2 different videos. One with Metal Jesus and then one of his own on his own channel. And I picked this up at the Midwest Gaming Classic, I think the first year. No, this is last year? No, this is 2018. And it's a side-scrolling platformer. It's actually pretty fun. You play as this warrior princess character. And, yeah, I haven't played it at great length, so I can't really get into too much detail. But the graphics are weird. They're kind of like a combination of pre-rendered graphics, kind of like Donkey Kong Country, and also a little bit anime-esque. It's weird. But I like the way it plays. I like the way it looks. It's fun. Got this at Half Price Books as well. I get all the cool shit at Half Price Books. Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. Cap's favorite edition of Link. Yeah, boy. Yeah, love it. Give him a smooch. Yeah, Toon Link sucks. But this game is actually pretty cool. Kicks the Wind Waker's ass, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not a fan of the Wind Waker. But it's your standard top-down Legend of Zelda game. But the gimmick of this one is this little Minish Cap with this talking bird on it. And that bird is a liar. No, the bird shrinks you down, and then you end up like being in this like micro universe. And it's ways to get into cracks, to get into different areas and stuff like that. It's a fun mechanic, but it's still Toon Link, and I hate Toon Link. I picked this one up. I don't know why. I remember I saw somebody talking about it on YouTube, and I was like, Lilo and Stitch. Do not like the movie, but the thing about the game is it's like playing Metal Slug. Of all things, it's like playing Metal Slug. And there's even like a Gyrus-style shmup level. And it's not too bad. There's even like some cutscenes with like actual video playing from the movie, which is crazy. But I really like this one. Got this one because Musty Hobbit turned me onto it. Actually talked about it during one of his streams. I don't remember exactly what what made him talk about it. Oh, because he's trying to get all the Lord of the Rings games. Even the import ones. And he brought this one up. Lord of the Rings, The Third Age. I have this for... I got the hiccups all of a sudden. God damn. I have this for the Xbox. And it's really, really fun. Thing about this one is they turned it into like a 3D beat-em-up. I think. Is this what this is? No, strategy role-playing game. Okay, it's a strategy. I forgot. I haven't played it yet. But he talked about it, and I was like, I should probably look into getting that. It sounded pretty fun. Because he was describing what the game was. And I go to Half Price Books, and there it is staring at me. I was like, that's my superpower, man. And we got... some of my biatch. Magical Quest starring Mickey and Minnie, and Magical Quest 2 starring Mickey and Minnie. I want to get all of the Magical Quest or Illusion games starring Mickey Mouse, all of those games for all the consoles. I have a couple for the Game Gear. I have these two. I think there's a third one that's really hard to find. 3D or side-scrolling platformers that are, it's reminiscent of playing like Castle of Illusion. And they're really, really fun and super colorful. I mean, they kick the crap out of what the Castle of Illusion on the Genesis looks like. But I really enjoy this one a lot. I got these from SeanTendo64 through his Instagram page. Yeah, please stand by. Yeah. I don't know, man. I was like, do I want to drink tea when I'm streaming tonight, or do I want to try out this coconut pineapple sparkling water? I'm like, I'll go with the coconut pineapple. And the effervescence is... causing issues. Anyway, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Found this at the exact same time I found, I think it was the Legend of Zelda one, the Minish Cap. Did I? Or was it the other? No. I'm mistaken. I got this at Half Price Books, though. But this is like the sequel to Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo. It is really, really cool. And even... the combat is exactly the same almost. It's awesome. I wish these were still called Super Mario RPG, but since Square co-developed that with Nintendo, I guess that caused an issue with continuing it without their involvement, so it just got renamed Mario and Luigi, and the series is still going on. The last one came out for the 3DS, I want to say. Super Mario Super Circuit. This one's kind of like playing the original Super Nintendo version. But it's not a port. It's like, I think this is Mario Kart 2 or 3. I can't remember if this... No, this came out after Mario 60. Yeah, so this is like Mario Kart 3. It's pretty cool. I like it. Mario vs. Donkey Kong. This is a puzzle platformer, and there's a sequel for the DS. I think I have it. Yeah, I do. And it's not too bad. The only problem is when I picked this up, I immediately wanted to try it out because I always wanted this game, never was able to have it back in the day. Plugged it into my Retro Freak, and holy shit, this game, the music. It's like listening to somebody taking like two violin bows and just rubbing them together. There's like this tinny, nightmare-inducing like cacophony that just, oh, my ears wanted to bleed. Another one. Let's make it an isometric action game because, yes, Masters of the Universe, He-Man, The Power of Grayskull, and it's actually not too bad. There's a couple of parts where it's a little tricky to figure out where you need to go and what you need to do, but it's pretty fun and it uses the license pretty damn well. It's not like some game that just got like turned into a Masters of the Universe game because they bought the license. It was like developed to be a Masters of the Universe game, and it's based on the cartoon that came out like in the late 90s or early 2000s or whatever, based on, you know, the Masters of the Universe cartoon. I never watched it, but it's pretty cool. So, here's another one. You got a 3D action game that's available on PC, PlayStation 2, Xbox. What do we do when we want to bring it to a portable console? Take Max Payne, you make it into an isometric action game. And it's really cool. I had this back in the day. I wanted to play it while I was dropping a stinking load, making a Cleveland steamer or two. And it's awesome. It even has the slow motion mechanics that are in the original game. Love it. Even the voiceovers are there, like with the cinema in between level scenes. You know, it was just still pictures that had like a narration. The narration's there too. That's fantastic. Had to get this just so I could complete poo-poos. I got so distracted I just lost my train of thought. I only bought this so I can complete my subset. I had no plans in buying this. I was like, I own the game not once, not twice, or I own this game twice already. I didn't need to own it for a third time. Cap was there when I bought it for the second time, and that's Metroid, the original Metroid, the classic NES series version. You know, it's just the NES version, just for your Game Boy Advance, and it's a great port, plays perfectly fine. But I have it for the NES. I also have it for the Famicom Disk System, which is the exact same game that we got on the NES, just with different music. And then that. And when I bought that, that meant that I officially, until Metroid Prime 4 comes out, I officially have every Metroid game made. Which also includes Metroid Fusion and Metroid Zero Mission. This is what I bought when I also got the Minish Cap at Half Price Books. And Fusion is, I want to say, the final game in the storyline with Samus, because the games are like, the storylines are like all over the place. Like, some are before others, some are after. I think this one, timeline-wise, is the final game where Samus gets infected with like Metroid DNA and she gets weird powers and stuff like that in a really awesome suit, and there's like a clone of you chasing you around, like Dark Samus chasing you around. It's pretty awesome. And then Zero Mission is basically just a ground-up remake of the original game in the same way that the Return of Samus, or Samus's Return for the 3DS, is a remake of the Game Boy Part 2. But both games are fantastic. I know a lot of people consider Zero Mission one of the best games out there. I haven't played it too much. I spent more time playing Fusion. Got this because of Nintendo. He talked me into it. It's called Monster Force, and it got this at People Play Games when they were still around, and it looks like a cheap budget title from the cover, you know, just like garbage. But when you turn it around, it's freaking Zombies Ate My Neighbors. And I love Zombies Ate My Neighbors. All right, Top Spot, thanks for stopping by. Have a great night, dude. Thanks for coming. So when he said this is just like playing Zombies Ate My Neighbors, I said, give it to me. And then like a week later, I go to People Play Games, and there it is. So, like I said, I have a superpower. It's not really a useful superpower, but for a collector, it comes in handy. This is a repro that I got from, the Video Game Database. I also picked up a game for the original NES, the first game in the series. This is the third and final. Mother 3. You got Mother, then you got Mother 2, which we know as Earthbound, and then Mother 3, which only came out for the Game Boy Advance in Japan. And, I still haven't opened it. It's still sealed, because I want to play through all 3 games in a row. And since they're RPGs, I don't have a lot of time to play RPGs, so it's kind of on the back burner. But this, like I said, 2020 is going to be the year of the RPG for me. I'm going to try to clear as many of them as I possibly can. These are probably going to be on that list. Motocross Maniacs Advance. It's a sequel to a original Game Boy game, which I have, and I love it. It was one of the first games I had for the Game Boy back in the day, where it's just a really simple motorcycle racing game. There's like loop-de-loops you can do and stuff like that, and it's kind of like playing Excite Bike, but it's from like the horizontal. It's a side-scroller, and it's really fun. I picked this one up hoping it would be the same, and while some of the mechanics are the same, and, you know, it's just a better looking version of the same type of game, it just doesn't play the same. and I kind of don't like it that much. I mean, it's not horrible. It's just not great. It doesn't live up to the legacy of the first game. Here's another one that surprised me. I do not like this movie. Hate on me all you want after I tell you I do not like this movie, because everybody else seems to love it except for me. But the video games that are based on it are pretty rad. And that is The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Pumpkin King. And this has one of those really awesome lenticular covers. And the only reason I bought this was I was like linking from video to video to video on YouTube. And just looking at like games that I had never played before. Because, you know, I don't know what every game is like. How do I know what I want if I don't know what it looks like? And I got to one where somebody was playing this. I think it was on the World of Long Plays. And it's a Metroidvania game in the Nightmare Before Christmas universe. And the moment I saw that, I was like, you are coming home with me. And I found a copy on eBay, and I snatched it up, and it even has the awesome lenticular cover. That's awesome. And it's a fun game, too. I was trying to get Radical Reggie to buy it the way he's always trying to convince me, and he was just kind of like, Nathan's game, oh no. So I was like, you know what? You're lost, dude. The Pac-Man collection. Nothing fancy. It has Pac-Man, Pac-Attack, Pac-Mania, and Pac-Man Arrangement on it. And it's just something fun to have, like when you're dropping a deuce or, you know, just want to play a quickie little game on your handheld. Don't want to boot up the PS4 or whatever and turn on the TV. Oh, no, don't you go away. So, yeah. This game is shit. I'm probably going to be getting rid of it. That's another thing I want to talk about. So, doing those PS2 collection live streams for the last 3 weeks made me go through my PlayStation 2 collection and start weeding out the things I'm going to get rid of. I now have a stack of games in the other room. Like, I swear to God, like, if this is the bottom of the screen, it's probably up to here, way past my head, of games I'm getting rid of because I just realized I don't need these games. And if I do want to keep them, I'd rather have them on the Xbox where they're kind of in HD. But this one I might get rid of. I might... Revenge of Shinobi. I thought this was a port of the Genesis game, and I'd be like, that'd be pretty cool to play that on my Game Boy Advance. You know, just sit on the couch, pop it in. No. It's a brand new game, and it's done with like the pre-rendered graphics of Donkey Kong Country, and it controls like shit, and it plays like shit, and it looks like shit. It is garbage. Yes, it does have the ninja throwing star thing that was happening in the original Shinobi in between levels. That's not too bad, but the platforming and the combat is just... It's like everything, like, hitboxes don't exist in this game. It's like, you can't tell if you're going to hit something or not, or if they're going to hit you. It's just really hard to... It's hard to like. Unlike the Scorpion King, Sword of Osiris, another licensed game that I probably would not have bought because I wasn't a big fan of the Scorpion King solo movie until I found out that this was developed by WayForward, one of my favorite game developers, and it was a mini mission of mine to get all the WayForward console games. There's way too many of them out there to complete that in like, you know, a month. You know, it's been 2 years since I decided to start doing that, and I haven't bought any of their stuff lately, except they just released like 4 of their games on limited run for pre-order, which I'm definitely going to do. But yeah, it's a side-scrolling platformer, and it's actually really, really, really cool. I mean, it's a beat-em-up also, especially when you're dealing with The Rock. He's got to have some, you know, punchy stuff going on. So it's a pretty fun game. The graphics are pretty neat. The music, not so much, but I enjoy it. It's not the best, but it's not the worst either. And then leads right into another WayForward game. We got Sigma Star Story. This one's a little beat up. This had so many stickers on it when it showed up. I had to like peel them off, and I did peel a little bit of the paint off of the cover, but it doesn't have any goo on it. I managed to clear that up pretty well. But it's part shmup and what is it? The other part RPG. An RPG shmup combo. What's not to love? Graphics are great, colorful, everything. All the characters are super huge when you're doing the RPG part. It's really, really fun, and it's really creative. I like this one a lot. I haven't played through it all the way, but what I did play, I liked. Okay, time for Star Wars! Oh my god. There's tons of Star Wars games on the Game Boy Advance. And I talked about a lot of these in my good and bad Star Wars games videos. You know, I've done 4 of those so far. Some of them are pretty bad. Some of them are pretty good. One of the bad ones I talked about right before The Rise of Skywalker came out, I talked about this in the bad one. And that's Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up where you can play as either Obi-Wan or Anakin in some parts, and there's also some, like, first-person shooter segments where you're, like, in a tank. And it plays like garbage. There's, like, nothing creative going on here. It's just like, let's just pump out a Star Wars game to coincide with the release of the movie. And shit, someone's calling me, and it's probably my mother. It's really, really bad. And the graphics are garbage. It's just not a good game. Unlike Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, this one I talked about in the good Star Wars games that I did before Rise of Skywalker came out. This one is a side-scrolling beat-em-up where you can play as either Anakin or Obi-Wan, and it's very anime-looking. It looks kind of like a Final Fight game with lightsabers, and it is absolutely fantastic, super fun. So many freaking moves you can do. It's fantastic, and the best part of it is, you can also do co-op. Best part of it is, if you play as Anakin, you get the storyline from his point of view. If you play the game as Obi-Wan, you get the storyline from his point of view, but it always culminates in the big battle between between Obi-Wan and Anakin on Mustafar, where, Anakin, gets, hacked to pieces and made a little crispy critter, But it's a great game, fantastic. I absolutely recommend you pick this one up. This one's kind of like in the middle. It's Star Wars Flight of the Falcon. It's like all vehicle levels. For there's stuff where you're flying around in the Millennium Falcon. You do the Death Star run from the first movie. You do the Death Star run from Return of the Jedi. But there's also like stuff where you're flying around doing, like, you can see it right here, speeder bike on Endor. It's just, like I said, it's just all vehicle stuff. It's fun, but it's just I want to hit things with lightsabers. Here's a port of Star Wars Jedi Power Battles. I have this for the Dreamcast. It's a fantastic isometric beat 'em up, and that's exactly what this is. This is one that they didn't really have to do much. Just compact it to fit onto a Game Boy Advance cart. And it's pretty awesome. You get 3 different characters, or actually multiple characters to pick from. They only put Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Mace Windu on the cover, but there's more characters. And you can see that this came out not too long after Episode 1 came out, because Mace Windu's carrying a blue lightsaber, not his little purple bad motherfucker. This one I talked about in the original bad Star Wars games. It's Star Wars: The New Droid Army. Here's another one where, oh my god, we're in between movies, but we need to release a game. Keep that money flowing. What are we going to do? Because the license, THQ had the license for a little while. Like, what are we going to do, guys? We got to release another game. Let's just pump something out real quick again, and that's The New Droid Army. And this is another isometric action game, and this one is garbage. It plays like absolute trash. But then Ubisoft got their hands on the license after THQ lost the license, and they made Star Wars Trilogy Apprentice of the Force, and this is the best Star Wars game on a handheld console, bar none. It's basically the entire original trilogy storyline from Luke's point of view. And you learn, it's like, it goes from New Hope to Empire to Return of the Jedi, and you're learning all these Jedi powers as you go along. It's animated fantastically. The platforming is great. The combat is amazing. Lots of awesome enemies. I mean, like, everything that you could possibly imagine from those 3 movies, if you wanted to see in a video game, it's in here somewhere. And it's great. I absolutely love it. Like I said, the best handheld Star Wars game ever. Sword of Mana. Picked this up because at the Midwest Gaming Classic in 2019, I picked up Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo. And it kind of made me want to get and because I bought that there, when I was going through another table at the convention, I saw this sitting there, and I was like, oh, I just bought Secret of Mana. Let's get this one, too. This is, I think, part 3 or 4? I can't be sure, because there's a couple in Japan we didn't get over here. But getting those 2 games at the Midwest Gaming Classic made me want to keep getting all the other games in the series. So now I have, I think I need 2 more, and I have them all. But Sword of Mana is pretty fun. I was capturing footage of this when I first got home from the Midwest Gaming Classic so I could make a pickup video. And I played this for about an hour and a half, and I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun, and the dialogue is real funny, and the characters are really likable. I really, really enjoyed it. Here's another one. We got a licensed game that's a 3D, third-person action game. Let's put it on a handheld console, make it a, isometric action game. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. This is another awesome one. Like, every one of those games that gets changed into an isometric action game on the Game Boy Advance end up being pretty awesome. And this follows the plot of the movie pretty well. All the major action scenes are represented, including the one where you're like driving through LA or whatever it was, and the Terminatrix is chasing you on that hook truck. And it's amazing. I like this one a lot. Like I said, you can't go wrong. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. This was one of the first games I had for my Game Boy Advance. It was either this one or the first one. I can't remember if it was part 1 or 2. Whichever one came out for the Game Boy Advance on launch day. It might have been this one. And I actually brought my game... Oh, wow. Hey, what's up, zombie? Welcome. I remember bringing my Game Boy Advance to work with this game in it. And I remember like playing it every chance I got back when it first came out. It is absolutely fantastic port of the home console versions, bar none. And everything you liked about the full-on games for the Xbox and the PS2 and all that is in here. And it's fantastic. I am surprised it translated so well. Okay, here's another one, but instead of a first-person shooter on the Xbox, what do you think they did to the game when they brought it home for the Game Boy Advance? I'm waiting. They turned it into an isometric action game. Tron 2.0, killer app. I'm a goddamn Tron whore. It's my favorite movie franchise. Well, you only got 2 movies, but, I love Tron. It's one of my favorite things. And I picked this up back in the day when it first came out, and I absolutely loved it. It's like a companion piece to the PC game Tron 2.0, or what ended up coming out for the Xbox, the original Xbox. And it's a fantastic isometric action game, and this one actually opens up to show you even more of what the game is. And I was super surprised when I bought this back in the day, because not only do you get a really cool game based on Tron, but it also has the original arcade game in there that's unlockable. That's fantastic! So, absolutely love this one, and I highly recommend it. If you're a Tron fan, you need this in your life. It's a fantastic game on its own. It follows the same storyline as the PC and Xbox game, just in an isometric action game form. Got this because of Radical Reggie, Wade Hickston's Counterpunch. This is a Mike Tyson's Punch-Out knockoff, sort of, but it's more cartoony and animated, and it's really, really funny, but at its heart, it's just Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And it's really good. I mean, I cannot stress enough how fun this game is. I highly recommend you pick up a copy of it. And I always talk about, like, whenever I talk about, like, an outer space, like, flight simulator, shoot-'em-up game, I always call them, like, a Wing Commander type game, because I love Wing Commander. And when I found out that Wing Commander Prophecy, which was just a PC game at this point, was coming out for the Game Boy Advance of all consoles, I was like, why aren't you bringing this out on, like, the PlayStation 2 or whatever, or the Xbox? That would make more sense, because that game has, like, full motion video cutscenes and stuff like that, and had, like, a soundtrack that featured a lot of, like, industrial bands of the day, which I still own. It's kind of great. Why would you, of all the things, bring it out to the Game Boy Advance? And I was dreading it when it came out, but I picked it up, and yeah, some of the button combinations you need to do in order to get things to happen, like going to hyperdrive and, like, locking onto enemies and firing missiles, are kind of strange. There's a little cheat sheet that you get with it. It's still a fantastic Wing Commander game. It's just portable. I never thought I'd ever be playing a Wing Commander game like in the palm of my hand back in the early 2000s. Like, not even. And it's fantastic. So that's like one of the greatest surprises I've ever had. This is from Pico Interactive, not P-I-C-O, P-I-K-O. They're known for... They're actually got a Kickstarter going on right now. They're trying to re-release Jim Power and the Lost Dimension, which was a Super Nintendo game that we got in the US, but it was deemed really, really hard. So they like have a rebalanced version that they're going to re-release for the Super Nintendo. They're also going to release an NES version and a Sega Genesis version and an Amiga version or something also right now. Anyway, what they do is they buy like unfinished games for different consoles or ones that were only available in a specific country. I know they have a Genesis game that was only available in China. or they buy these unfinished games and they finish them and then release them. And one of the ones I picked up was World Reborn. It was an unfinished Game Boy Advance shmup. And Metal Jesus was sent, I think, every single game that Pico Interactive had released at that point. And this was one of them. And out of all the ones he talked about, this was the only one that like appealed to me outside of that one from China for the Genesis. I think it's a beat 'em up. And it's okay. It's just a generic shmup. Once I played it, I was like, oh, okay, I made a mistake. But it wasn't too expensive. But, I mean, it's okay. And X-Men 3, or X-Men The Last Stand, the official game. This one is developed by WayForward, which is why I bought it. I was trying to get all those WayForward games. And it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up where you play as Wolverine. I don't think you play as anybody else. Oh, you do. You can play as Colossus. Okay, become Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Iceman, or Colossus. Yep, they're all right in the back. Yeah, it's a beat-em-up. I played it for like 10 minutes, and I was like, all right, it's a beat-em-up. So, not too bad. And then the last game I have for the Game Boy Advance is Triple X. Can't stand the movie. Vin Diesel, wannabe James Bond flick. I think it's kind of embarrassing to watch because it's just so goofy. But for a video game, it's not too bad. It's kind of like playing Alien 3 on the Super Nintendo. So it's a side-scrolling platformer. There's also some like Road Rash-style motorcycle levels. And it's really fun. I mean, honestly, I consider this better than the movie. Didn't realize this existed. I was just putzing around on eBay one day looking for Game Boy Advance games. This was like when I had first started collecting. And found this. And who did this? Oh, Digital Eclipse. I got the hiccups again. Damn it. And when I saw this listed, in the search that I did, I was like, what? Where? How? When? And I picked it up because it was dirt cheap and pleasantly surprised. All right, so let's move on to the PSP. I'm going to have to burn through these because there's almost 100 of these things sitting here. 2 gigantic stacks of PSP games. Goddamn. So PSP I had back when I didn't get it when it first came out. I got it maybe like a year afterwards. And I really, really enjoyed it. But at one point, I liked playing Rock Band more. So much so that when the Ion drum kit came out for Rock Band 2, this was like the professional Rock Band drum kit that had the cymbals and all that. And it was like you could reconfigure it however you liked, for your play style and all that. It was like almost $200. And I really, really wanted it because I played Rock Band like all the time. I had nonstop Rock Band parties back in the day. And I wanted it so bad, I was like, I don't feel like forking up $200 cash, so something's got to go. And it was my PSP and all my games. And I ended up selling so much stuff that I could afford. I pre-ordered the Ion drum kit through GameStop, as well as got some other games that I was looking for as well. And kind of regretted it because after I sold it, some really good games started coming out for it. And I was kind of sad. Same situation with the Wii. But it's an easy console to collect for nowadays. You go anywhere and you're bound to find at least 2 PSP games, and they're usually dirt cheap. There's only a handful of ones that I still am looking for that are kind of pricey, but I'm not dying to get my hands on them. I have pretty much all I want for the PSP right now. I mean, like I said, there's still some things I would like to have, but I'll live if I don't. So let's get into it still haven't played this because I haven't beaten the second game in the series, but that's The Third Birthday. And if you didn't know what this was, it's actually Parasite Eve Part 3. And I think because Parasite Eve 2, people disliked it so much because it strayed from what the first game was so much that they just decided to call it something else. So they called it The Third Birthday. In Japan, I think it was probably called Parasite Eve 3 or whatever. But yeah, I still haven't opened it up yet. Like I said, I haven't played it. But I don't know if it's still considered an RPG. I don't know. I'll find out once I get around to playing it. But the graphics look fantastic. And I love Parasite Eve 1, so why not? I'm warning you guys, just with the Game Boy Advance, I have a ton of licensed games for this console. And the funny thing is, a lot of the licensed games are really, really good. So, one of them is 300 March to Glory, and this is a 3D beat-em-up based on 300. And I love the movie 300. I love the sequel even more. And I really wanted to get this. And it's actually not too bad. It's a little clunky once in a while, but for a beat-em-up, it's not it's not the worst. It's very enjoyable. This one surprised the hell out of me because I can't stand the movie. The game is pretty fantastic. I'm going to give it up for Sierra for this one. Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. This is the second Alien vs. Predator movie, which I couldn't stand. But the game is fantastic. You play as a predator, and it's a 3D beat-em-up, and you're taking on aliens and humans, and you have all your predator powers, and it is really fun. I like this one a lot. Found that at GameStop for, I think, $2. They're clearancing out all their PSP stuff, I want to say, back in like 2015 or 16. At least one by me was. Atari Classics Evolved. This is just a whole bunch of like remade versions of old Atari games like, let's see, Asteroids Deluxe, Battlezone, Centipede, Lunar Lander, Millipede, Missile Command, Pong, Super Breakout, Tempest, and Warlords, and over 50 unlockable Atari 2600 titles. And the cool thing is, this is why I wanted this. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to play the game like this, but it says you can battle it out via wireless multiplayer available on Warlords and Battlezone. I can play Warlords against somebody else over Wi-Fi. Yes, please. That's why I picked this up. I don't think I'll ever be able to do it. I don't know if anyone I know, I don't know one I know has a PSP except for me. At least in my circle of friends. So, Brave Story, New Traveler. This was the first PSP game I picked up when I got back into collecting. And I found this at a local store. I think it was the Disc Replay place. I found this for like $5. And I was like, I do want to get back into collecting the PSP. I didn't have one at the time. I ended up getting my PSP from a co-worker who had been digging around in her closet, found her ex-husband, like a box of her ex-husband's video games. She knew that I was collecting them, so she just basically walked into work one day with this box of stuff and goes, here. And it was like a PSP, a couple of PSP movies, a bunch of import Saturn games, a couple of PS2 games, and the, I can never remember if it's called Composite or Component, the one that has the 5 different plugs. It was a cable set that lets you use the 5 plug set for not only the PlayStation 2, but the Xbox. It had like a little splitter on the end that had the connections for both consoles, which is pretty awesome. So I was finally able to play this, and it's an RPG, and it's actually pretty fun. It's not the greatest thing ever. I mean, it's kind of standard JRPG, but it's not too bad. Call of Duty Roads to Victory, another first-person shooter. I don't think I've spent too much time playing this one, though, but there's actually some airplane combat stuff in here, so there's that. I still can't figure out what the difference between these are because the backs of them don't really describe a whole lot. But we got Capcom Classics Collection Reloaded and Capcom Classics Collection Remixed. So the Reloaded one has, I guess some of the games are 1942, 1943, Street Fighter II, Ghosts and Goblins, the whole Ghosts and Goblins series, Commando, Eco Fighters, The King of Dragons, Knights of the Round, and more. And this one has Sidearms, 1941, Legendary Wings, Forgotten Worlds, Black Tiger, which, if you've ever read the book, Ready Player One is the video game that Wade was forced to play in order to get one of the keys, Black Tiger. Strider, Final Fight, Bionic Commando, Three Wonders, Avengers, Block, Captain Commando, Last Duel, Megatwins, Varth, Magic Sword, Street Fighter, the original Street Fighter, Section Z, Quiz and Dragons, and Speed Rumbler. Compilations, can't go wrong. Reloaded and Remixed. Reloaded comes first in the alphabet. This one's awesome. Castlevania, the Dracula X Chronicles. This has Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night on the same game. And this, for a long time, if you didn't want to fork up hundreds of dollars to get a copy of Castlevania Dracula X on the Super Nintendo, this was the cheapest way to play Rondo of Blood without having to have a PC Engine CD and a super expensive copy of Rondo of Blood, which I happen to have. But for the time, this was the only way I was able to play it. I did have Dracula X for the Super Nintendo way back in the day when I was collecting back in the late 90s and early 2000s. And when I had to get rid of it, this was the only way I was able to play Rondo of Blood from that point on. And it's fantastic. It's a great game. It's like a remastered version here. And then you also have Symphony of the Night, one of the best Castlevania games ever made, on here as well. Why not? And a lot of people don't realize that those two games are connected. That Trevor Belmont scene at the beginning of the game is actually, or the beginning of Symphony of the Night is actually the finale of Rondo of Blood. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. I have not played this much. It's an RPG. For some reason, for a little while, Square didn't seem to want to work on numbered sequels. I think they were deep in Final Fantasy XI and stuff like that. So they just decided to keep spinning off the existing numbered sequels. And this is one of them. Crush. This is a puzzle game that I got because Metal Jesus was talking about it, and I have not played it. So I can't comment on it. But it's colorful, and I'm guessing it has a pretty decent soundtrack, since that seems to be one of the angles they're going for. But, you know, whatevs. This I had to get. Darkstalkers Chronicle, The Chaos Tower. Is this... Yeah. One-on-one fighting game. Obviously. Darkstalkers. Capcom. Monster characters. You got Dracula, you got Frankenstein, you got a mummy, you got Sasquatch, you got a succubus. It's fantastic. Awesome game. I love this one. And I keep looking at it because I want to say this had a side-scrolling beat-em-up in it too, but I think I'm thinking of the wrong game. I think I'm thinking of the wrong game. Deadhead Fred. This is a... honestly, I can't remember. 3D action game. You're a character that has a jar for a head with a brain floating in it. Okay. I got that for like $1. Death Jr. and Death Jr. 2 Root of Evil. These are cutesy little 3D action platformers, kind of like... I mean, now that I've played a Spyro game, they remind me of Spyro. Disgaea Infinite. I've never played a Disgaea game before. This is the first Disgaea game I've ever bought. It's a long-running RPG series, so therefore I have not played it because I've never played an RPG in this series before. Here, Dissidia Final Fantasy. So I thought this was like an exclusive Final Fantasy game for the PSP. So when I found out that the version I bought off of eBay came with this really fancy slip that's kind of embossed and stuff, I was like, oh my god, this is... You know, it must be something special, and it turns out it's a fighting game with Final Fantasy characters. I was sad, because it's not very good. But whatever. Brings you one step closer to getting all them Final Fantasies, you know what I'm saying? And why did I buy this? Why do I do this to myself? I hate this movie. Dragon Ball Evolution had a video game on the PSP. Hated this goddamn movie. Hated it. I'm not even a Dragon Ball fan. I tried watching the cartoon on multiple occasions, and I just can't get into it. It's something you had to be raised on. Like Power Rangers. That's another thing I just can't get into. But doesn't mean the video games are bad. I like the video games. I do not like this game. But yeah, it's based on this craptastic live-action movie that they made back in the early 2000s. It's trash. But it's a one-on-one fighting game with the versions of the characters from the anime in the live-action version. You're playing as them. It sucks. But it's a licensed game, so I wanted to keep it. Don't judge me. I'm just going to take a sip of my sparkling water. Dragoneer's Aria. It's another JRPG. Picks it up for a couple bucks at half-price books. Didn't know too much about it, but it looked pretty cool. So when I brought it home, checked it out, played it for like 5 minutes to see if it worked, and I liked what I saw. Like, I just need to put some time aside to buy it. Although this one is freaking amazing. Pick this up at People Play Games on a whim. Dungeons & Dragon Tactics. I wasn't really that big into tactics games, and this was one of the games that got me back into it. The last game I played that was a tactics game before I picked this one up was probably Lord of the Rings, Battle for Middle-earth 2 on the Xbox 360, and maybe Halo Wars. But I kind of like lost interest in it after that. Not that I didn't like them, I did. I just didn't really feel like playing one after that because I was like, how much better can it get on a console? And then I played this. This is fantastic. It's basically like an RPG tactics game, and it's awesome. I loved it so much. I highly recommend it. EA Replay, this is like a whole bunch of Genesis games on one disc. It has Wing Commander and Wing Commander Secret Missions, which is why I wanted it, but there's more. Budokan, which is garbage. Mutant League Football, yeah. Desert Strike and Jungle Strike, yeah. Bob, B-O-B. Road Rash 1, 2, and 3, not too shabby. And it also includes Haunting, starring Poltergeist. Ultima, The Black Gate. Yes, please, since that is a super expensive Super Nintendo game. Virtual Pinball, big whoop. But the one that surprised the hell out of me when I popped this into my PSP and saw the games that were listed on here. Excuse me. Syndicate. Cyberpunk. Syndicate. Yes. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Cheap as shit, too. I think I paid a whole $1 for that. Every Extend Extra, from the makers of Luminous. It's a rhythm game, and it's hard to explain. I've played this maybe 3 times, and it's... I'll read the back of it. Start a chain reaction. Extend yourself into an unknown universe where your only chance for success is through perfectly timed destruction. Every Extend Extra fuses together futuristic puzzle, shooter, and musical elements to create an electrifying battle experience like no other. You get to choose from 5 different modes and experience the fusion of hypnotic visuals, pulsating music, and ingenious puzzle action. So, if you remember when I was doing my PS2 games, I was talking about that there was a seller on Amazon where I bought like a ton of games from this guy for a penny each. This was one of the ones I got from that seller as well. I got this one before I even had the PSP. I was like, for a penny? Yeah, I'll buy it. And I did. And it's pretty cool. It's just, I struggle to find... It's like if you're playing Rez, but it's also kind of like playing Dance Dance Revolution. It's weird, but it's fun. It's unique. It's a weird one. We have Exit, which I got from... I ordered this off of Amazon or eBay, and it showed up like the next day. Because it turns out that when I ordered this, it came from a pawn shop that's like down... It's not there anymore. It was down the street for me, and basically when they saw my address, they looked it up, and they dropped it in my mail. They came over to my house and dropped this in my mailbox. Go figure. But it's a side-scrolling puzzle game. It's actually pretty cool. It's like playing... That's another one's kind of hard to explain. I'm like at a loss. It's a platform puzzler. That's all I need to know. How about that? But it's pretty fun. I like the one a lot. Fading Shadows got this because Metal Jesus talked about it in one of his videos, and then I go to that disc replay shop, and it's sitting there staring at me. So I said, okay, cool. And it's like a puzzle game. It's like environmental puzzles and stuff like that. There's a little bit of third-person platforming. But outside of that, it's okay. Fat Princess, Fistful of Cake. Yeah. It's like battle, or was it the tower defense, I guess? I played this for like a week when I first got the PSP from that girl from work. And I'm drawing a blank as to what kind of game. I keep on wanting to say it's like a matchup gem game, but it's not. It's kind of like a tower defense game, if I'm remembering correctly. It's also because I'm super tired. Field Commander, this is one of my favorite games for the PSP. And why? It's a strategy game, but it's not like a super complicated one. It's like you have this objective to perform. You have to complete this objective in this level. It's like destroy this boat that's in the water. And you're going to start on this side of the level. And you have so many movement points and stuff like that. And just get over there and destroy it. And you have like points you can use to bring weapons out and vehicles and all that. It's pretty awesome. I talked about this in one of my Top 3 Tuesday videos. And I remember I played this for, I want to say, 3 months at work. I would bring my PSP to work. When I'd be on my break or on lunch, I'd be sitting there playing this in the cafeteria. And people would be coming up to me because I used to be kind of an asshole. And I would like... Now there's a guy that I work with who decides to sit at his desk and watch anime with the volume on his phone up full blast. I used to do that in the cafeteria. I'd be playing my PSP with the volume up full blast. And now I look back on that and I'm like, I was a dick. But it's a fantastic strategy game. I highly recommend it. And there's cars. God. Final Fantasy 2, and Final Fantasy 4, and it actually has the after years, like an epilogue to Final Fantasy 4. Final Fantasy 4, or Part 2 in the US, is my favorite Final Fantasy game. So when I saw that this had like this epilogue added onto it, I had to get this, the complete collection. But these are just slightly upgraded ports of the original Final Fantasy games. But this is the real one I wanted. Had to have it. Final Fantasy Tactics, The War of the Lions. I don't remember if this is supposed to be a sequel to the one that came out on the PlayStation 1 or like a remake. But it's a strategy Final Fantasy game. I used to play D&D with a bunch of friends. If Epic Die Studio shows up in the chat tonight, he was one of the guys in that group. And his ex-wife loved this game so much. I remember we'd be playing D&D. She'd be sitting at the table when it wasn't her turn playing this on her PSP. And so would my friend Rob that I work with. And she loved this so much, she developed a board game version of it. And she used the D&D group as her play testers. And it turned out to be pretty cool. I love the original Final Fantasy Tactics on the PlayStation 1, so I absolutely had to get the one on the PlayStation Portable. Haven't even opened this one up, but this is one that I also got for a whole penny. Gladiator Begins. This is the prequel to Gladiator. Why this exists, I don't know. This movie has an Oscar and a PlayStation Portable video game attached to it. Why not? But it's a 3D beat 'em up in the Coliseum. Okay, Grand Theft Auto, Liberty City Stories. This is a spin-off of, I don't remember which game. Whatever. Just more Grand Theft Auto. Third person. Thieving. Murdering. Carjacking. It's pretty fun. There's another one too. I think it's China something something. I can't remember. Grip and Shift. This is another spoiler for my pickup video at the end of January. I just picked this up last week. It's Grip Shift. Hail murder! God damn it, Jason. Grip Shift. It looked like a fun little racing game. It's like from behind the car, but it's like micro machines. So you're like racing on a pool table and stuff like that. It looked kind of neat, so I picked it up. It was like $3. This is okay. So when I like froze up while I was looking at that Darkstalkers game, I was thinking of this. Okay, so Scott Squatch from Video Game Sellers doesn't like fighting games. And he did one of his videos where he went garage sailing and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And he found this game and he almost was about to pass it on because it's based on a fighting game franchise until he realized that the game has a side-scrolling beat-em-up added into it. And that is Guilty Gear Judgment. So yes, there is a full one-on-one fighting game in here, but the main focus of this game is a Final Fight style beat 'em up with Guilty Gear characters. And when he saw that, he said, this one's staying home with me because I love beat 'em ups. And yeah, with Guilty Gear, the animation, the crazy moves and all that stuff, yeah, I'm keeping it. So when I saw that in his video, I said, I need that in my life because I love Guilty Gear. So went and found this on eBay and got it for a good $7, $8, I think. And it is kind of fantastic. Here, I think this is supposed to be a sequel. I don't think this is a port. I think this is a sequel. Gun. So the PlayStation, no, not the PlayStation, the Xbox, and then the Xbox 360 got Gun. And then PlayStation Portable got this. And I think this is supposedly a sequel or a side story or something like that. But it's a 3D action game, but it's a Western. And in the video game, the original game, Thomas Jane is the voice of your main character. I cannot remember if he does the voice of the character in this one either. But I really liked Gun, so I picked this one up. Even if it's just a straight port, why not? It was a good game. I had to get this. I found this at that disc replay place that closed down by my work. It's called Gunpei. And I'm sitting there holding it in my hand. PS2 and GameCube got it too? Okay, I forgot. I couldn't remember. I'm sitting there going, I know this is connected to something. I can't remember what it was. Like, it wasn't dawning on me. And then as I'm walking around the store, I had this in my hand. I was like, I'll get it, because I think it was like $1.50. It popped into my head. This is that game developed by Gunpei Yokoi, the guy who created the Game Boy. He decided to. He splintered off from Nintendo at one point. I can't remember if it wasn't they weren't paying him shit or something like that. I can't remember. He left Nintendo and he like developed this game, and it's a puzzle game that involves like little sticks. And I played it for about a good 10, 20 minutes when I first got it to see if it worked. And it's got a learning curve, but it's pretty fun. I can't complain. R.I.P. Gunpei Yokoi. Had to get this one. This is a very unique one. This is Half Minute Hero. So it's kind of like an action RPG, but you have 30 seconds to get as far as you possibly can in the game before you die, and then you have to start over. And the thing is, everything that you have done or collected in that 30 seconds carries over to the next time you play. And eventually you'll be able to get further and further and further and further, and you might even be able to extend your time a little bit through certain means. And it's really, really strange and goofy, and it's a silly idea, but it works. And it's super, super fun. The graphics are really charming, and everything about it is just really well designed. I loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. This is going to be a nightmare, because I've got this gigantic stack of shit right here that's threatening to fall on my head. Oh, do not fall. Do not fall. Thank you. I don't know why I have this, but whatever. Harvest Moon, Hero of Leaf Valley. It's another Harvest Moon game. Woo! Picked this one up when I was in LA visiting my brother at Game Dude. Is the sticker on here something? Yep, there's the sticker right there. Game Dude. Hellboy, The Science of Fear. This also came out on the PlayStation 3. I'm not sure about the 360. But it's a 3D action game, beat 'em up as Hellboy. And I think you can also play as Liz. I'm not sure. Original storyline filled with the well-known characters from the Hellboy universe. Yep, you can play as Abe Sapien and Liz Sherman in co-op multiplayer modes. Yes. Why you would want to do that on the PSP, I don't know. But that's why I want to get the PlayStation 3 version, because that would be fun. Got this at a Goodwill for like $1. Honestly, I don't know why I still have it. The Hustle, Detroit Streets. It's a pool hustling game. It's like The Color of Money, the video game. Okay. Yeah, it was right when I started to get back into collecting. I went to a Goodwill, and that was like the only thing they had there, and I was like, all right, whatever. Had this back in the day, absolutely loved it. Infected. It's a 3D action game, and oh god, I forgot that this had music by Il Nino in it. Who remembers Il Nino, the band? Zombies. 3D action game with zombies. It's awesome. Except Il Nino. I remember they did a theme song for Freddy vs. Jason. I was like, no. No. And they're also on the the first Resident Evil movie soundtrack. Jackass the game. It's just a bunch of mini games doing like stupid Jackass tricks and stunts. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. I mean, it's a fun little time waster. Jeanne d'Arc, or, Joan of Arc. This is a tactical RPG, I want to say. I watched, what's his name? Balsam Burf streaming this. She must have streamed this for like a month. And I found this at Half Price Books, and it was like a whopping $4, so I picked it up and brought it home. And I tried it out, and I liked it. It just, I didn't have time to play something like this. Why I bought it then, I don't know. But yeah, tactical RPG. I watched Boston Burf play, so I got the general gist of what the game's like, and I liked it a lot. Soulfly in 2002. Oh, God. In 2001, I got to go to Ozfest, and I saw... Oh, God, what was her name? They did that You're My Butterfly Sugar Baby song that had nothing to do with metal. I can't remember their name. Anyway... Bought this. Okay, this is like the reverse of the Metal Jesus thing. Normally, it's like I see Metal Jesus talk about something in a Hidden Gems video, and I go looking for it. Pretty much everybody else does the same thing. This was the other way around. I bought this, told Radical Reggie about it, and I think he told Metal Jesus about it. So, Kenka Bancho, Badass Rumble. Crazy Town. Yeah. Oh, God, they were the worst. This is a 3D beat-em-up that's kind of like playing a Yakuza game. But the thing is, it's like completely editable. I mean, you can create your own character with these crazy-ass moves and stuff. You gain experience points, and you can like level up your moves. But your moves are like crazy. Like a lot of them have to do with kicking somebody in the nuts. And there's a talking banana. It's like insanity. It's like if you were to take a Yakuza game and everybody's on meth. It's awesome. Killzone Liberation. I got this. I don't remember where, but it's still sealed. I think this is just a side story of the Killzone games. I think there's been 3 of them so far. 3 or 4 of them. So this is like 2.5 or 3.5. But it is a first-person shooter, from what I can tell. This is one of the first games I ever bought for the PSP back in the game. Quit making me remember shitty bands, please. Oh, that Ozfest, we forgot to bring sunblock with us, and my friend and I got so sunburned when I got home. I walked into my mother's house, and she's like, "Why do you look like a tomato?" The next day I had like pus oozing from my skin, and my skin was peeling off. That was how badly sunburned I was. Like, I woke up in the morning, and my pillow was soaked through with like fluid. It was disgusting. But I got to see Marilyn Manson live, and I got to see Ozzy reunited with Black Sabbath. That was awesome. Kingdom of Paradise. I went to the one, and I got so badly sunburned, I was like, I'm never going back. But I got to see that was where I saw Disturbed right when they took off and got dry humped by a 700-pound woman. Kingdom of Paradise. It's like Jade Empire for the Xbox. It's like a action RPG martial arts game. It's pretty fun. I like this one a lot. Haven't opened this one up yet. I got this at the Midwest Gaming Classic, I think the second year I went, so that's probably like 2016, I want to say. But Nights in the Nightmare. This is also available on the DS, I do believe, but I wanted the PSP version because if there's going to be cinemas, they're going to be like animated or whatever, and it's going to have better music because it's on a CD. So, yeah, action RPG with shmup, like bullet hell shmup levels in it. That's why I wanted it. I was like, that just sounds like an awesome combination of things. So, still haven't found time to play it because it's an RPG. But the funny thing is, it has like this free Yggdra Union game purchase download voucher inside. You're getting a free game when you bought this. So you got 2 games for the price of 1. And I always forget that the PSP like had digital download stuff on it. I always forgot that because back in the day when I first bought mine, I was still living at home and my parents didn't have Wi-Fi, so I had no way I could use it. So I just didn't even consider it. Pick this one up because Psygnosis, yet another port of Lemmings. It's the same game, just graphics are a little bit updated. No big whoop. Another spoiler, I picked this up a couple of weeks ago. You're going to see it in the January pickup video, and that's Loco Roco or Loco Rocco. I don't know how to pronounce it. Found this at Video Games Then and Now. And the reason I picked this up was because I was watching 8-Bit Glitch doing one of his pickup videos, and I think he found the second game in the series. And when I saw this sitting there, I was just like, oh yeah, didn't 8-Bit Glitch just pick that one up? It looked kind of fun. Yeah, I'll get that. It was like $3. Why not? But yeah, it's like a puzzle game, like environmental puzzle game. It's really cutesy. Kind of like playing Patapon a little bit, I guess, except without the music. Got this from the Square Enix online clearance sale. They had a whole shitload of PSP stuff I did not own, so I picked this up. Lord of Arcana. It's still sealed, haven't played it, but it's from Square Enix, so obviously it's an RPG. But I think this one is like an action RPG. It has a 4-player cooperative mode. What? Okay. No, this looks like a Dynasty Warriors game. Might need to crack this one open and try it out. I haven't opened this one either. Lunar Silver Star Harmony. I think this is a direct sequel. This is another sequel to Lunar? I can't remember. Oh, it's been reimagined. That's why they changed the name. Okay. Whatever. I love Lunar, so I had to have it. I got this for like $5 on Amazon. Got this because of Metal Jesus. It's called Mach. Modified Air Combat Heroes. It's airplane racing. It's like it's like playing Mario Kart or something like that, but with airplanes, and you're racing through chasms and stuff, and it's actually pretty awesome. I watched Metal Jesus talk about it in that one pickup video of his, and I was like, sold American. It'll be mine. Had the sunburn like that on my scalp. Not fun. No, it was all over my face, my head, my shoulders. And then my friend that I went with, who got just as badly sunburned as I do, decided to like up the ante on pain and go get a tattoo the next day. This tells you what year it came out because the day after the concert, we went and saw Swordfish in the movie theater, and we're both suffering the whole movie. Mana Chemia Student Alliance. I think this is connected to the Atelier games, I think. Yeah, RPG, anime style. Awesome. Me and my Katamari. Do I need to describe what a Katamari game is? Okay, I do. Right. You're the son of the king of the universe, and you've got to use a little sticky ball to go and roll up things so you can make new stars in the heavens. Why? I don't know why that works. That doesn't sound logical, but it's a video game. Who gives a shit? But yeah, it's just craziness. Picking up things, building up this ball until you get to the point where you can actually pick up whole buildings and stuff. It's crazy. Another game in the series. I want to say this is part 2 or 3. I wish they numbered them. Medal of Honor Heroes. This is a first-person shooter, obviously. World War II style shit. Dropping stuff. Ow. Get over here. Hello, how you doing? Mega Man Powered Up. I don't think this is a standard Mega Man game. What? The diabolical Dr. Wily has been on world domination. Only Mega Man can stop his evil minions. Yeah, it's like a super chibi Mega Man game. I knew that's what it was. I just didn't remember if this was like a remake of like the first Mega Man or not. But it also says you can take control of the bosses. You can play as any of the bosses once you beat them. That's bizarre. But yeah, it's like super chibi Mega Man game. There's another one called like Extreme Powered Up or something like that. I gotta find that one too. So I've had this one for the longest time, and that's Metal Gear Acid. And this is kind of like a tactical Metal Gear game, if I remember correctly. Yeah, tactical turn-based strategy. Yeah. I knew one of these. I got so many Metal Gear games over here, I couldn't remember which one was which. And I really like this one. I had this one back in the day. I never knew that there was a sequel until I got back into collecting in 2013. So, another spoiler alert. Got this at the Video Games Then and Now last couple weeks. Was it 2 weeks ago? They had it there, and I was like, okay, now's the time. Buy it. More Metal Gear, better. I'm not trying to get like a complete Metal Gear collection like Church, but I mean, like, Metal Gear is good, so I gotta have it. And that's why I also have, this is where I got confused, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker and Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops Plus. Side story to the original Mega Man games. Or, did I just call Metal Gear Solid Mega Man? Chris. And this one is, I think, is this another side story? I guess it is. Yeah, the standalone edition to the 2006 award-winning title of the same name. So, I need to find the original Portable Ops. Medieval Resurrection. This is the only medieval game I've ever owned until not too long ago. It was a Black Friday when I got the remake of Medieval on the PlayStation 4. And then I talked about this in the pickup video that I did. So when I bought this, I got it at a half-price books. And when I brought this up to get rung up, the game was not inside. You know, they always keep the games behind the counter. So the woman behind the counter did not know what was up. So she goes to the back, pulls the game out of the little pouch that they have that's, you know, numbered for this. And she thinks that the plastic that surrounds the disc is a protector, not that this is a cartridge. So she ripped it open in front of me, took the little disc by hand and put it in the case, and she's trying to fit it in here, and I start going, no, put it back in that little case, and then the whole thing fits in here. I'm like, you see that the shape in the case is the same as this holder? I'm like, no, there's a reason. It's a cartridge to hold the disc. And she's like, oh, silly me. And I was like, do not make me jump this counter, lady. I was like, really? But yeah, it's a 3D adventure action game. Beat 'em up. I don't know why I still have this. Whatever. Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. I've never played a Monster Hunter game in my life. I got this for a whole $1 at the Disc Replay. And this is when I'd first gotten the PSP when my coworker gave it to me. So I was like, I went PSP crazy. If you go and look at my pictures that I put up on Instagram and Facebook, around that time, you'll see nothing but PSP games for like 3 months. And I bought this for like $1, and I was just like, yeah, more PSP games for me, yay! And I still haven't played it because it's a Monster Hunter game, and that kind of shit doesn't interest me. So this might be going bye-bye. MotorStorm Arctic Edge. This is a port of a game that's on the PlayStation 3. It's a racing series. I had the original MotorStorm for the PS3 back in the day. It was one of the first games I had for the PS3 when I got it. And it's fantastic. Controls a little weird. But, there was multiple sequels, and one of them was this Arctic version, and they ported it over to the PSP, and it's actually pretty fantastic. I got this at the Game Dude. There you go, Game Dude. And the guy laughed at me when I said I wanted this. And it's Napoleon Dynamite the game. I absolutely said to the guy, I'm like, I need that game in my life. I love the movie Napoleon Dynamite. It's like dumb, but it's funny. I still laugh. I still quote it. And this is just a bunch of mini games. It's like Feed the Emu. What was it? The wacky games. Yeah, Feed Tina the Emu, dancing, time machine, computer hacking, football toss, action track. It's like all the stupid little things that Napoleon Dynamite did in the movie. They have a mini game for it in here, and it's pretty awesome. It's just short little things. It's like playing what's that game? WarioWare a little bit. Harmless little thing. I still I swear, I still quote to people when they start acting like a fool. It's like, your mom went to college. Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast. This is super expensive on the Xbox now. And I'm just lucky that I got the PSP version so I can still play the game, because I'm probably not going to want to buy the Xbox version of this for $80 or whatever it is that it's going for now. But it's just another game in the Outrun series, kind of like Outrun 2, which I do have for the Xbox and is pretty fantastic. It's a racing game. It's just got a couple of cool modes, like the Heart Attack mode, where you got like this girl in your car and you got to like thrill her. So the more you drift, the more you almost crash into cars and stuff like that, she'll give you like hearts. And the more hearts you have at the end of like a stage, the better off you are. It's a great game. Great update to the original Outrun. Yeah. Patapon and Patapon 2. Puzzle games that all are about music. So you play as these little shadowy characters, and each of them responds to different commands. So you got Pon or Patapon are the words that you can use, and you got to use them in combinations to get the characters you're controlling to do things. So if you want to attack, each button is a different word or a different part of the word, and you have to like use them in different combinations. So if you want them to attack, you might have to hit Pon, Patapon, Pon, or something like that, and they'll attack. And it's really interesting. It's a unique set of games. There's a third one. I need to get it as well. But each one is basically the same exact game. I like them. They're entertaining. Still haven't opened this one up because I got this for a penny from that guy on Amazon also. That's Pixel Junk Monsters Deluxe. And I think this is another tower defense game or something. Haven't played it. It's still sealed. Let me see here. Yeah, there's the box. Okay, so this one came in a funky-ass box. And I got this at Video Games Then and Now. And the cool thing about that Video Games Then and Now store is they have stuff that I know is pricey, but for some reason this guy just doesn't feel the need to charge that kind of price unless it's something that is really hard to find. So when I saw this in his expensive case, which it wasn't really that expensive because I think he was selling this for like $35, I said, "Can I have that, please?" And it's Prinny. Can I really be the hero? And this is a side-scrolling platformer beat-em-up game where you play as this like little penguin-y character, Prinny. Here's the game itself. I keep this on my shelf, and I have the box up here. And it comes with this collector's edition. Comes with the soundtrack. And I think that's it. Yeah, it just comes with the soundtrack. Which is cool. I was glad to see that I got the complete version of it when I bought it from that guy. But I'd never see it. So, I've never seen the first one out in the wild until then. So I picked it up because I had already had the sequel for the longest time. I found this at People Play Games back when I first got back into collecting, and I was on that PSP kick. And I found Prinny 2. Best. Come on, people. How many people are watching right now? 10 people. Write this down. Excuse me. Let me wet my whistle a little bit before I drop this knowledge bomb. The best subtitle in video game history. You ready for this? The game's called Prinny 2. Subtitle is Dawn of Operation Panties, Dude. And dude is spelled D-O-O-D. What? That's another platformer. This is my diamond in the rough for the PSP that you guys need to buy if you collect for the PSP at all. It's called Pursuit Force, and there's a sequel called Pursuit Force Extreme Justice. So, it's an action game where you play as this psycho cop who likes to jump on the back of cars to take out bad guys. And the whole point of the game is you're like on the highway and you're in your police car and you have to catch up to the bad guy, and then you jump out of your car onto the bad guy's car and you have to like shoot them through the windows and stuff to get them to stop. And usually it involves hopping from multiple cars and stuff like that. It's crazy. It's really over the top. Super fun though. I picked this game up on a whim back when I first owned my PSP, and I fell in love with the game. I thought this was the best PSP game I had at that point in time. Didn't even realize there was a sequel until I got back into collecting, but these games are absolutely fantastic. And then we have a Ratchet & Clank game. We got Ratchet & Clank Size Matters, and I think this is just a port of a PlayStation 2 or a PlayStation 3 game. I can't be sure. There's so many Ratchet & Clank games out there, I can't remember. But yeah, it looks like your typical Ratchet & Clank game. Whatever. Don't know where part 1 of this is, but I've got part 2. It's called Rengoku 2, The Stairway to Heaven. And I still haven't played it, but it looks like a mech game. And I found this at half-price books for like $3 or $4, so I picked it up. Side story. How about that? Side story of Resistance. We got Resistance Retribution, but instead of it being a first-person shooter, this one's a third-person game. It's actually pretty fun. I remember I played that on an airplane. Printing is from the Disgaea games. What? I know that whenever I get an email from NIS America, it's always like, it's called, the email is titled The Prinny Bomb. So that's like their mascot. This isn't a game per se. This is what I got for pre-ordering the PlayStation 4 version of this game. And I think if I had done it earlier, I think it was like if you were the first 100 people, you actually would have gotten a PSP version of the game, but I didn't. I got it like right before it was released. But they sent me the case, I think by mistake. So I kept it, and I have it on my shelf just because, and that's Retro City Rampage DX. I bought the PlayStation 4 game, and like I said, if you were like the first 100 people to pre-order it, you would have gotten an actual PSP copy, but I didn't. But whatever, they sent me this for shits and giggles, so I just have this on my shelf because why not? We have a port of Ridge Racer, or like an updated version of Ridge Racer with super duper high def graphics, and it's not too bad. I think I got that for 50 cents. Same with this one. I got this one for 50 cents at Half Price Books. Like, they literally were just trying to get rid of this. They even had the game still inside the case because there was like, I don't think they would have given a shit if you walked out with it and didn't pay. Rock Band Unplugged. I love Rock Band, so I had to have this. How it plays on the PSP, I don't know. I'm assuming you just use the face buttons to do whatever because you're not going to be able to plug your guitar into this baby. But the songs that are on here are from Three Doors Down, AFI, Alice in Chains, Billy Idol, Blink-182, John Bon Jovi, Boston, Foo Fighters, Jackson 5, Modest Mouse, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, The Police, Weezer, The Who, and many, many more. So I love Rock Band, so I absolutely had to have it. Still considering getting Rock Band on the DS, and then you have to have that like little plug thing, but I can't play it on my 3DS. I think I need to get a DS Lite to play it there because that plugs into the Game Boy Advance cartridge slot. Here's a weird one. So I picked this up at what's it called? Disc Replay, thinking it was just another game in this series, which I love. So I picked it up, and it turns out it's not. It's a tactics strategy version of the game. R-Type Command. I thought it was just another R-Type game, and I plugged it into my PSP when I get home, tried out. And it's a tactics game. And it's pretty good. There's a Star Fox game for the DS that's pretty much the same thing. And I really enjoyed it. It's pretty neat. Surprised the hell out of me when I plugged that in. So I was talking about Ratchet Deadlocked for the PS2 when I did the PS2 live streams. And it seemed like they separated Ratchet and Clank for like a like one series of games or like whatever. And then here's the Clank game. It's Secret Agent Clank, and it's just another 3D platformer action game where you play specifically as Clank. It's not too bad. It's not the greatest. I need these boxes down from here. Okay. So, went to LA to visit my brother. He took me to Game Dude. This is the first time I went to LA to visit. And they had both of the first two Persona games on the PS1 available in the store. And I looked at their little pricing listing thing that they had in the store, and each one was like $150 or whatever it was. And I was like, I really want to play the first two Persona games because everyone tells me Persona 3 and 4 are so good. I don't want to go into those games without having played the first two. And at that price, I'm like, I'm not willing to do that. So, what do? Well, I found the less expensive versions, and they were for the PSP. So we've got the original Persona and Persona 2 Innocent Sin. These were not cheap either, but they were definitely cheaper than the PlayStation 1 versions. I think I got each one for like $40 or something like that. And I got them complete in these limited collector's editions, so I never listened to, surprisingly. So I have played the first one a little bit. I was really, like, when this first showed up, I was like gung-ho. I'm like, I'm going to be playing these freaking Persona games, mark my words. And I did. And it's like, it's an RPG. It's also like a relationship simulator and all that. And it was pretty fun. All the dungeons are like in the first person. And I liked it. The story is weird and, oh God, Neo, you're killing me. You're killing me. But I never completed the original one, so I still haven't played 2, still haven't played 3, still haven't played 4. I don't even own 5. So, there's that. But I liked what I played. I just need to dedicate more time to it. Same goes with this. Star Ocean First Departure. I think this is a port of the original Star Ocean game, because the Star Ocean that we got over here for the PlayStation 1 was actually the second game. So, there's First Departure, and then there's like Second something, or there's another follow-up one. I can't remember. Final Departure or something like that. But yeah, sci-fi RPG. Got that at a GameStop that was clearancing out their PSP games. Absolutely love this one, even though it's okay. No, this isn't the good one. Sorry. Star Trek Tactical Assault. I'm a Trek fan. But this is one of those games that Bethesda released that has this craptastic combat. I don't know why they designed it the way they did. It's very slow. And I know that you're controlling a starship in Star Trek. It's not like an X-Wing in Star Wars. But they could at least try to make it exciting. And like every game that they released was kind of like that. Even like Star Trek Legacy on the Xbox 360 has the exact same combat style. Even though they kind of perfected it there. Now let's get into the Star Wars games. Not that many, actually. But we have Star Wars Battlefront Elite Squadron and Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron. So you got the one where you're playing as Imperials and one where you're playing as Rebels. And I've never played a Battlefront game from this era. I've played the ones on the PlayStation 4, but I've never played one of the classic ones, and Musty Hobbit tells me that I must. And I talked about this in my good Star Wars games video that I released before The Rise of Skywalker. And that's Star Wars Lethal Alliance, where you play as this Twi'lek, like, bounty hunter for hire or whatever. She has this really cool little robot companion that lets her, like, access high platforms and stuff. And it's a really cool Tomb Raider-esque Star Wars game. I really, really enjoyed this one. It's a lot of fun, and I like her character. I just can never remember her name. Rihanna. Got this from the Square Enix clearance sale also. It's Tactics Ogre. And as I said that Prinny 2 had the best subtitle of all time, this one has the worst subtitle of all time. It's Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together. Really? Yeah, I haven't opened this one yet. It's still sealed, but it's a RPG, or tactical RPG. One in a long series of games. Tron Evolution. It's a port of the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 game that is like the prequel to Tron Legacy, the movie. And for a while I thought I had all of the Tron games for the consoles when I bought the DS game. And the DS game is also called Tron Evolution, I think, but it's not anything like the PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 game. And I thought that when I bought that, I was like, okay, now I do have all the Tron games. I'm done. No, it turned out I still needed to pick this one up, and now I have all of the Tron games. But Tron Horror, I love it, and had to have this. It was a fun game. I beat it like that was. I'm so into Tron. Like the moment that game came out, I ran to Best Buy, picked it up, and I had that thing beaten in like 3 days. Twisted Metal Head On, miniaturized version of Twisted Metal. It's actually pretty fantastic. I think this was a launch game for the PSP, and it's like classic Twisted Metal. It's pretty awesome. Except this time Incognito developed it instead of Single Track, or was it 99 Studios who kind of ruined it with 3 and 4 a little bit and Small Brawl. But this like brought it back to form, and it was so popular that they ported it over to the PS2 as well, which I do own as well. This one's awesome. Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins. Yeah, it's a fantastic port with great music, and the controls are spot on, and the graphics have been improved. And it's basically just Ghosts and Goblins, just upgraded graphics and made widescreen. But I love it. It's fun. Love me some Ghosts and Goblins. Untold Legends, The Warrior's Code. I think this is supposed to be like a companion to the PlayStation 3 games. I think there's 2 of them for the PlayStation 3. But it's a 3D beat 'em up. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it's not terrible. It's just kind of there. The ones for the PS3 I didn't think were that great either, but they were like just harmless. Valhalla Knights, still haven't played this because RPG! But it looked kind of neat. I picked this up at that disc replay place for a couple bucks. Still haven't opened this one up. Got this at that store sale on the Square Enix website also. Got this for, I think, a whopping $4. Valkyrie Profile Lenneth. I remember everyone telling me that this was kind of hard to find for a little while, but whatever. I got it pretty easily. Every time I go into one of those sales, the first thing I look for is Chrono Trigger on the DS, and that's the first thing to sell out. Don't ask me why. But, yeah, it looks pretty cool. Before I play that, I want to play the other games in the series. And then we have Wipeout Pulse, another Wipeout game, but this was when Psygnosis got absorbed into Sony. So now they're Sony Liverpool, I think. So now they're working for the man. But the game is still fun. It's Wipeout. Wipeout's awesome. For that Knights in the Nightmare game, I was talking about that you had the free download for that Yggdrasil Union game. Well, I actually have the standalone game. Yggdrasil Union, another terrible subtitle, Will Never Fight Alone. Who comes up with this crap? But I can't remember if this is a tactical. I think this is just a real-time. No, this is an RPG. Haven't played it yet because RPG, but it looked fantastic, and the name was weird. And I think I also got this from the sale on the Square Enix. No, this is Atlas. This is not. Never mind. I'm talking out of my ass. I'm tired of shit. And finally, the last game that I have to talk about tonight is Ys, the Ark of Napishtim. And I have not played any Ys game except the original one on the TurboGrafx CD. Because I have Ys Book 1 and 2. And I've played Ys Book 1. I have not played through 2 or 3 or whatever. So, like, I don't know what number this is. 7, 12, 36. I don't know. But there's a lot of games in the series. And I liked part 1 so much, I wanted to get all the rest of them so I can play through them in a row. Torture Myrtle, yeah! But I need to get finished with the rest of those Ys games. I still need to get the third one somehow. But yeah, I love Ys, so I wanted to collect all of those. And that's it! Almost 2 hours. I thought this was going to be over 2 hours tonight. Last couple of them only been about an hour and a half, so there's that. Talking quick as shit. So next week I will be back with either the Xbox or the GameCube. I don't remember which one came out next. Maybe they... Well, if I do the game... Well, the thing is, I don't have a whole lot of GameCube games. I don't have like a huge amount. So that would be a really short live stream. So maybe I'll just do the Xbox. And I'll have to split that one up into 2 because I've suddenly had a huge influx of Xbox games in my collection. So yeah, that's gonna take 2 videos as well, just kind of like with the PlayStation 2. So come back next Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. I'll be back with my Xbox live stream, part 1, and I do have some more new content coming up. I don't have any top 3 Tuesdays. I just wanted to get those end of the year, beginning of the new year top 3 Tuesdays out of the way because I did the same thing last year and I wanted to do it again this year. So I don't have any new top 3 Tuesdays, but I still have my top 10 NES games of all time video coming out. I still have my licensed games Diamond in the Rough, as well as my review of the Retron 77. If I can ever get off of my ass and actually put that one together. It's been like a year in the making. So yeah, a lot of new content coming up. I'm gonna try to keep busy this year on the channel. Doing these live streams is what's actually keeping me motivated to keep doing that. I'm showing off all these games I'm talking about. Why not actually do like a full unedited video about some of them? So I'm gonna talk about them in more detail. So stay tuned for next Thursday. Hope to see you there. And Chris, the old ass retro gamer, signing off for the night. Have a good evening, everybody. If my mouse actually would work. You son of a bitch. There we go.